Welcome to Day 3 of the College Championship, where for the first time ever, we're featuring VALORANT. Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Degon Gonzalez, joined on the analyst couch today by Dryad and Tanner. Welcome, y'all. Welcome to the College Championship. How you feel, Dryad?
Thank you. I feel pretty good. I'm so excited for this. It feels like for these teams, they've been waiting for this moment to be on LAN at the Riot Games Arena, and I'm so excited to see how the match is going to go.
Yeah, and these teams have played LAN before, sure, but not LAN like this, right? This is the goal for everybody. These are the players that are going to be next up that we're going to see featured in this studio in the years to come. It's so exciting to have them right now.
Yep, and this is the inaugural year for College VALORANT, and we're hosting the final rounds of the competition over the next couple of days. Today, it's the lower bracket finals between Winthrop University and Fisher College Navy. Tomorrow, we'll take a quick break from VALORANT to see the conclusion of the League of Legends College Championship between Maryville and University of St. Thomas, and then we'll return on Wednesday with VALORANT for the grand finals, where Northwood University, the big boss, is waiting for today's victors. And now for today's competitors, it's been a long road, so let's take a look at that bracket to see how far these teams have come here, Tanner.
Yeah, this is exciting. You mentioned it, Degon, right? Northwood, the Kings, they're sitting nice and pretty on their throne right now. They've got the fur on, everything. They're hanging out, waiting to watch today's matches, which, if you've been a fan of CVAL, if you've been paying attention, this is nothing new, right? Two teams in the East. This right here, this lower matchup is for Kings of the East. You can erase everything. Obviously, we're looking ahead to tomorrow, but Fisher versus Winthrop is a rivalry matchup. And for Winthrop, they had a good run. They make it through the upper bracket, only losing to Northwood in a series that they could have won. They take map 1, they slip on map 2, the rest falls by the wayside. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Fisher, they lose early, and they're on this spite run, right? This lower bracket run where they really, as the #1 team from the East, have something to prove.
They definitely have something to prove. And it's a Fisher that comes today as the favorite, as the clear favorite because of that, because it's a team that is even surprising that is going to be in the lower brackets, right? So when you're looking at how the team is going to shape up, I think everything right now is favored. And it is a pressure on the other side that Winthrop absolutely feels. You know you're not the favorite, and this is one of the only times where Winthrop is not the favorite, right? Because it's always when you're going against Northwood, when you're going against Fisher, that is when you are playing as the underdog, and that can also be something to play with.
Yeah, well, let's dive straight on into it, starting on the side of Winthrop University with their roster. We take a look at all the guys on there: A77, Flair, Comey, Moobs, and Nasi, but there's one name that jumps out on this roster that is the key to success here, Dryad.
It is the man, the myth, and also the criminal Moobs. Absolutely insane in so many plays that we get to see. He gets away with plays that are really criminal. He should not be getting away with those. The duelist player, the explosive player, going in, having no fear and full confidence that he's going to secure the run for the team.
Yeah, Moobs is kind of a double-edged sword sometimes, but he is kind of the player that we look at in doing stuff like this that you're seeing on the screen. This was against Demigods. This was the team that, the final West Coast team that was making it far and had to play Moobs. So it had to get stopped by this Winthrop squad where it says he's bronze 1, 73 IQ. I haven't got to chat with the guy just yet, so I don't actually know. But he talks about the criminal record, and it's the insane plays like you mentioned, Dryad, where he's getting away with stuff that he has absolutely no right in doing.
Well, here you see some of the stats that Moobs has there, and again, will be one of the main anchors of this squad on the duelist role and looking to go ahead and step up and get that upset victory that they haven't had in a little while. But enough from us. Let's hear from the man himself and what he has to say about his competition.
Well, we have a lot of history with Fisher. They were the first team that we played in the first qualifier to qualify to come to the top 32 and now to the LA. And, you know, we beat them 3-2. We had a miracle round on one of the map number 4. And, you know, since then we've played them, I think, 3-4 times, and they've beaten us every time. But every time it's been a 3-1 map count or a 3-2 map count. It's always been very, very close. So we have a lot of respect for them, and we know that they are a really, really good team. But, you know, we want to get over that hill. It's like, all right, we've beaten you guys once. We want to do it again here where it really matters.
For as flashy of a player that he is, that was a very tempered interview there, understanding that not only have they lost multiple times in a row, but when they did win, it did take a miracle round to get it done there, Tanner.
Yeah, the thing that scares me about that, though, is he does seem incredibly tempered, right? He does seem that like a player that wants to stay within himself. He's not letting it get to him, but it's something that they do think about. It's going back to December of last year, right? Early Christmas present, they beat Fisher. Since then, they haven't been able to do it. So how much is that weighing on the back of their mind? Something that we talked about before we even got started today, right, is in moves being this double-edged sword, as many first kills as he gets just as many first deaths. And we need to see that hopefully slow down a little bit. But that cannot be in your mind, right? He cannot slow down.
And part of what you guys are saying, I absolutely love how calm he is. You do not see that overconfidence. And recently, when you think about the best players in the world, right, internationally, even in Americas, you're thinking of players with his role of the duelist role, like Cryo, like Aspas, that have that kind of personality. They're chill. They're gonna play aggressive when they're in game. That's a different story. But when they are outside, they're gonna keep that calm. And I feel like that's something that is a necessity when you're playing in LAN, when the stakes are a lot higher, and when you have the score of not having that consistent win, the dominant win that we need to see from Fisher specifically to have the expectations for what is going to happen in 2 days for that final against Northwood.
Yeah, and to kind of add to, Moobs already said it in the video, but you see it there on your screen, right? A 1-3, a 2-3, a 1-3, a 1. The losses have been close. And much like if you've been paying attention to Winthrop, they have upset potential. They take an early map off of Northwood, the kings of CVAL just in general. They're up 10-2 and end up losing in overtime in map 2 in a series where they could have absolutely won. So the potential is there. They just need to tap into it.
So we've talked a lot about Moobs, who's another player that needs to step up on this Winthrop roster to help out.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm looking Moves, A77, another player, an initiator player, also flexes to the Sentinels. A77 not only plays well with his team as the initiator, but if you give him a chance to play off of his utility himself, he's going to absolutely make plays. He's got one of the highest clutch percentages on this team. And then if I'm looking at anybody else, it's the controller player, but also secondary duelist when needed in Flare. Somebody who is relatively quiet, plays the smokes role, but then they get to these double duelist maps, Flare's on that raise, and he is able to start to shine right next to Moobs.
How about for you, Dryad?
It is absolutely the same thing when it comes to that support, when you want to see a moves that is so flashy, so explosive, but you want to get support from A77. And I think the way that they've been doing it has been great. You've seen those improvements throughout the season. Even though this is a team that has been dominant, it's still a team that is making changes, trying to get to the level that Northwood is, and the reason why they're trying to make it to the finals as well. So I think you're looking for that support, and you're looking for something that Tanner was saying too, making sure that your aggressive player, your entry player, is not going to be alone in dying. It's able to stay alive until the very end of the round, and that might change things up. It tried to do so in that matchup that we saw against Northwood, but now it has to happen again against Fisher.
All right, we'll see what kind of game Nasi can call as the IGL for Winthrop. Now let's switch on over to the other side of the matchup, starting with a little background from Logan. Let's take a listen.
So I've been with my team for a little over 9 months now. We were a team before we came to Fisher as a school, and you know, we were pretty good, but we definitely felt like an elevation when we came all in person, because you know, you get to build like this bond with them, and you get really close with them, and you put a lot of trust in them. So that really transfers into game too, and you know these guys like really well. They're really good friends, your family even, and you just get to put all your trust in them and play together and win games.
Well, you know this story from a team, they use the F word, it's a family with family. Yeah. Thanks, Pastor.
Yep.
Right? And like with Fisher, another F team, you know, they've been together for a while. They have had reached those heights. And one thing that I liked about the graphic on the flip side that we saw earlier for Winthrop, it's like they've lost the last 4. The wins that Fisher had over Winthrop got better and better. It was in the upper bracket semifinals. Then the last 2 have been in the grand finals. So you can say maybe pressure doesn't get to them as we take a look at this roster for Fisher that has been together for a while. We take a look at it. There's several names that jump out at us here, Dryad.
Yeah, and for 2 names that I want to mention, Rex here, the IGL, and I think the reason why we've seen that kind of improvement that you mentioned, seeing them making it farther and farther in those tournaments, in those qualifier, it has been this guy taking the role and taking that step. Yeah,
Rex Gator and Tuzi both coming up from the Tea Party team, kind of their secondary team. Navy is the one that you've seen, you know, in the varsity series when they are split up. You have 2 players that jump up to fill huge roles. Like you mentioned, Rex Gator now IGLing for this squad, and although Tuzi doesn't kind of fill that same role of IGL, this guy, you can feel his impact on the server, typically playing controllers and doing just that. But then also when you take a look at any of the stats, Tuzi is up there with the rest of Fisher, who are, you know, coincidentally all, I think 4 of 5 are in the top 5 or top 6 for stats just in CVAL, the championships alone. Yep. Tuzi's up there. And this is a guy that's new to this team. Right? This is the guy that got promoted and is really proving that he deserved that promotion.
Well, one of those stats that is really starting to jump out at us, Dryad found for us, the map stats since the promotion here, they've been dominant on specific maps.
Yeah, in so many maps, especially for the current map pool, right, where for the match today, because it's a best of 5, because we come to the end, we're not going to be seeing Bind is going to be Icebox a possibility in the table. And Icebox is one of the best maps, but not only that one. They have other 4 maps where Fisher has over 75 win percentage. And that, compared to even Northwood, is insane. The dominant wins that they're taking against all these teams. And I think that is so, that is my biggest fear for the other side of Winthrop. Right, because the 75 win percentage, that is only on 3 maps, and when you're going to a best of 5, you're jumping into new territory. You're going to have to adapt.
All right, well, we've talked about Rex Gator, we talked about Tuzi, but what is the main win condition for this squad here, Tanner?
Yeah, we mention those players because we're looking to head a different direction. When we talk about somebody who is kind of the star of this team, and that win condition is our player in Cloric, right, who is the best support player at doing better than, when I look at support players just in general, I used to look at Dip from Northwood. Now I'm looking at Cloric, who is filling a handful of initiator roles. I believe is also filling on some of the duelists. They're a team where they don't run the double duelist, which means Logan takes a step back from that, and Cloric will then fill that role. So Cloric setting up duelist players much like we talked about earlier. We heard from Logan. We're going to see Logan be very explosive, but a lot of that comes off of the back end of all of Cloric's support.
It's a mix, right? It's a mix of these 2 players, and that is the difference that we don't see on the other side, where everybody is kind of flexing around and doing what is best for that specific map. I like that, not being kind of selfish of, I want to play the duelist, I want to play the jet, the race, because the map pool is going to be massive. You're going to have to play around this. You're going to have to play around the meta that is shaping up in maps like Ascent and maps like Pearl that are actually the weakest for the side of Fisher. So that's when you take advantage of who is better for that role. And that, in some cases, is going to be Logan, and in other cases, is actually going to be on the other side.
I do want to mention for Fisher, although they have been, for the last 4 out of 5 times, the clear favorite in the East, there's a lot of the pressure is on them. The pressure is absolutely on them to not only reclaim that spot, but then try and find that victory over Northwood. That's been escaping everybody in collegiate. So as far as win conditions go, much like we said about Moobs, right? Moobs can't play too explosive, but you have to play the same. You cannot change your game the day of. Right? Don't do anything different. We just need to see more support. For Fisher on the other side, you cannot let the pressure get to you in this one. A lower bracket run, you cannot let it end here.
Again, they've won in grand finals. They've played on land before, but when you get to the right arena stage, things get cranked up even more. All right, to crank up the pressure here on the caster desk, it's time for predictions. So, y'all, you didn't send them in, so that means we're doing this live. I have no idea what they predicted. All right, so what do you have here? And then you guys at home, make sure we hold them to it. All right, what do you have in terms of map score here?
I have Fisher winning 3-1. I think I'm keeping the narrative for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I'm on the opposite. I'm going with Winthrop. I think that Winthrop they've proved a lot in their upper bracket run. They also have, again, no pressure coming into this one, right? Finishing second. Obviously, the goal is to beat Fisher, is to go into the grand finals, win the whole thing. But for themselves, they're the underdog. You said it earlier, right? You can use that to your advantage. I think Fisher are going to be feeling the pressure a little bit too much on a grand stage like this. I think Winthrop can get it done. And I'm going to say 3-1 for Winthrop.
Little over a minute left before we toss and get into the action. So give me one player that's going to pop off in map number 1 and why.
I'm actually going to go Cloric. I want to see how these maps are going to shape up and how the momentum starts to feel, but I feel like Cloric in those long runs, he's going to have a good performance.
Yeah, and I'm looking, I know we talked a lot about moves, we talked a lot about A77, but I'm looking at Flair for this one. Flair, as kind of the rock controller player, can also play the raise when needed, has the ability to be explosive as a whole. So I think that to get us started, we see a little bit of nerves maybe from the rest of the squad, and Flair is going to be that rock that pulls Winthrop together.
All right, there we go. Our casters have now decided on who's going to win. Who at home do you think is going to win? Let us know in the chat. Make those tweets. Again, use the hashtag CVAL, the first ever Valorant championship happening. To get us into the action for the first ever matchup, let's send it on over to Gompers and Sully over at the arena.
Hello and welcome to the first ever day of collegiate Valorant at the Riot Games Arena. I'm Gompers, and joining me today is actually a college student themselves, Sully.
Yeah, you know, I took off some time, finals are over, everyone's kind of in this Valorant flow state, and we've got two of the best teams in collegiate Valorant, and now it is time to meet the teams. First up, it is our boys from Boston, the Beasts of the East, Fisher College Navy. And you know, this team just recently voted the best college esports of the year. They are looking extremely solid coming to this one. They are a team built on family values, a team of friendship together. And you know, they've earned themselves the title of first in the East and up first, even on new soil in the West. When there is land, there is a crown. And then with that crown, our king, our captain, it's Rex Gator. And next up, it's the dashing, the daring, our boy, Dory. And every team has their duelist, but not every team has this man from Taylor Mill, Kentucky. It is Logan. Cool, calm, collected, and always in control. Introducing Tuzi. Last but not least, Fisher's finishing touch, the killer, the collector, Chloric.
All right, and on the other side, their Eastern rivals looking to make the lower bracket run. They may be the underdog, but they sure do got that dog in them. Winthrop University. Hailing from South Carolina, this team is looking for revenge against Fisher College to take that seat as the official Kings of the East. With their wings spread, the Eagles are looking to fly free from this Fisher curse. First up, the breach that will steal your heart and your eyesight, Nasi. And controlling the heat with his smokes, it's Flare. He's got eyes everywhere, so you'll never catch him lacking. A77. Hailing from Hawaii, he just flew 6 hours just to flex on them. It's Comey. Finally, it's the duelist with the smoothest moves from Winthrop U, Moves.
Now it's time for the Collegiate Valorant Loser Bracket Finals. Only one team can advance to the grand final. Winthrop versus Fisher College Navy starts right now.
Being here at the Riot Arena in LA, playing on the stage where the pros that I look up to, it's crazy. It's a surreal experience. I'm like, I want to play an Aspas setup. Wherever he's sitting, get me on that, because that guy knows something that I don't.
Being on the Riot Game stage will be more motivation, you know. This is where we all want to be at the end of the day. I think it's going to give us that extra motivation. Let's prove everybody that we can do it and we can win.
We have a lot of history with Fisher. We've played them, I think, 3-4 times. It's always been very, very close. The spots that we mess up on, the really tiny things, they will pick up on that, and we can't allow that to happen.
We know Winthrop will be a tough battle, but we've beaten them a couple times within the past couple months. So we're pretty prepared for them.
We want to get over that hill. It's like, all right, we've beaten you guys once. We want to do it again here where it really matters.
This is really what it all comes down to, what we've been practicing for, so it would mean everything to us.
Some things.
All right, getting ready. Obviously, you see those fist bumps happening. We are, in fact, preparing for that agent selection. But of course, taking their seats, Sully. I'm kind of wondering, you know, we have Fisher versus Winthrop. These are two teams that have been going at it for a while. You know, what's that history looking like?
Look, it's a battle from the East. Both of these two teams playing in their own domestic CVAL regions. They have played 5 times in their history, and 4 of those wins go to Fisher College. That was just in the last 3 months they played 4 times, and Fisher have won every single time. We are in a best-of-5 setup, so that is key to note. 3 best-of-5s were played between these two teams, and all 3 of them went the way of Fisher College. So when you talk about the underdogs and how they have that dog in them, they absolutely need to bring that dog out today. I was just talking to the coach Lance, and he's giving me words. We can expect some changes, some refinement from this Winthrop University team. I think the experience that they've gotten getting here, just playing against Northwood in the upper finals, it's a lot of experience that they should bring into today and have hopefully made a couple refinements from last time that they've played.
Yeah, and hopefully those refinements do come through. Talking about that dog in them, you know, Fisher College, they've been on top for a very, very long time. So, you know, when we're talking about Split is like a map that they consistently put really strong numbers on, but it's a map that they lost to Blinn Esports, which dropped them into this lower bracket. And you keep talking about how, you know, Fisher is this #1 team of the East. There's a reason why they've earned that title. They've beaten, again, this Winthrop team multiple times in their own domestic region, and they've always been playing kind of second fiddle to Northwood. So for Fisher College, we don't want to sell Winthrop short, but for them, it's like, this is kind of routine. They've played this team multiple times. They've beaten them multiple times. Absolutely.
I think the mindset for Fisher is we got to look towards Northwood. What do we do once we get there, once they've beaten this Winthrop team?
You're pretty confident on that. You're
feeling it, man.
Wow. Listen, I believe in Winthrop supremacy. I think they've been prepping up for this moment. They even said it, right? They're feeling confident. They're coming into this with a new mindset. They're done getting turned down by Fisher College. Again, they're looking to break free from this curse. Although it is difficult because you're starting off on Split, and man, Fisher is pretty difficult.
Yeah, Split, I think, being the first map pick, especially in a best-of-5 where you kind of need a strong map pool. Both teams, I mean, they're the top of collegiate Valorant. They're going to have a strong map pool when you look at it statistically. But the thing is, a lot of the map losses that Winthrop have across every single map is always to Fisher College. Absolutely. And this map in particular, Split, they hold a 2-2 record, Winthrop. But 2 of those losses, get this, believe it or not, are only to Fisher College. It's not a favored map pick for them. So we're going into this map expecting Fisher to come out in a very strong fashion. For Winthrop, there are a lot of win conditions, moves. The desk talked about him. He's going to be a guy that, you know, stealing a lot of kills away, being very proactive in that first kill department and dominating that department against a guy like Cloric.
Yeah, you talk about moves, obviously, being that dominant person. I guess, you know, I've heard your thoughts about this behind the desk, but I want to hear your thoughts on maybe an underdog player that a lot of people aren't necessarily paying a lot of attention to that we need to start looking at.
Absolutely, and I think for Winthrop, one of the key guys is A77. He's someone that has stepped up massively in this event against Northwood. He put up extremely good numbers. He's not necessarily in this like crazy duelist role. He's taken like a backseat role as an initiator. Yeah. But as of late, he has looked exceptionally good. And he's a guy that I think coming into this one, it's pressure on the big stage. And that's something that I think both of these teams are going to take in tenfolds when it comes to experience. And there is pressure for them to play well, but I think someone like A77 has dealt really well with pressure. Again, it's not their first LAN, as Tanner was saying, but it's the biggest LAN they've ever played on. And so that's a different stage and a different mindset you have to come in. So someone like A77 has to hold up strong.
I think they will. I mean, obviously, some players here definitely making it their first LAN, but a memorable one at that. That's what they're looking for. We're going down to Split. Again, we talked about it. Fisher College, this is their dominant map and a scary one. So for Winthrop, they got to think about what they want to pick here.
A couple of changes actually for Winthrop, and again, like I was talking to Lance, he was saying we've made some changes, we've made some refinements, and they have made some changes here. Previously, they were running Astra the last time they played this map, but here they're going to be running the singular Omen, no Viper as well, to enhance that kind of double controller meta that we've been seeing throughout all of Split in its time as a map in the map pool. They bring on the Breach here as well, which I think is a very strong pick. That double initiative between Breach and Sky, good info play, really good on the defensive side as well once we get to see them in full action. But for Winthrop, these comp changes will come with tactical changes, and it hasn't been that long since they last played Fisher. Fisher are going to be in for a surprise with Winthrop's new strategies.
And that's the most exciting part. They've been cooking something up inside of that pot, and they're ready to bring it out for everybody to see. Again, they're on a pretty big stage tonight, so it's now or never to make that time happen. We got a best-of-5 series, let's not forget. And whoever loses, well, they're knocked down.
Yeah, it is going to hurt. Both these teams coming through a very long brawl to get to this stage. Again, Fisher dropped to a lower bracket in just the first round. It's not expected that they were going to be here. Fisher have been kind of the undisputed #2 team in collegiate Valorant, taking multiple losses to top team Northwood. Northwood was the reason why they didn't make it to the campus clutch. And so Fisher, again, mindset I think is looking for revenge against that Northwood team. This should be routine, but a new Winthrop is a scary Winthrop, I feel like.
Yeah, they're definitely bringing something completely new. Obviously, we're seeing that same thing from Fisher College. So if they did their studying, homework done, they might know exactly what they're looking for.
Very early duel out here towards B main. Is Cloric, again, that opening duelist, looking to dominate that first kill department. But Winthrop are coming in with a very heavy hand towards this B site. Trailblazer will get a whole lot of information. And eventually we're going to start to see rotations get pulled away from both of these sides.
Yeah, you can see that attention from Comey too, ranging around that mid side, knowing exactly where that rotation's going to come from Fisher.
It's a big gamble here, I think, for Winthrop to just fully commit back towards this mid side. So do give up that B main control that you just took up here as Fisher College forced out of B main. With a minute left on the clock, have taken full mid control here for the time being and have a lot of time to work with. Not a lot of map control, though, was the thing. And it looks like we're beginning to lean towards B. They have to re-clear this B main area, but that fault line is perfect to set them up.
Oh, and a fault line coming back to it down for Fisher. Winthrop University, that's that first one, that refrag that will really bring them back up again.
Now Flair's going to be under a lot of pressure here because these two players in towards heaven are kind of cut from his line of sight, and he's going to have to deal with 2 players B main and 2 players in heaven, but never mind. Flair's got one down.
And it keeps going. Winthrop University, I mean, they completely changed up the game. It was Fisher taking that lead firsthand. Now, obviously, numbers not coming about. Yeah, Tuesday goes down. Unlucky.
And Winthrop starting off nicely on this defensive side. Again, the first time that these two teams have faced on Split in quite some time. Split, again, a dominant map here for Fisher College, and it's an map that they dominate on the attacking side. A 72% win rate, and we've seen them play it 3 times in this bracket so far. 1 loss to Blinn Esports, and 2 wins as they trudge through that lower bracket, and none of those teams got over 3 rounds of them. 2 13-3s back-to-back for Fisher College. So this is their map, and they're very strong in the attack. So we look at Winthrop, and we need this team to step up massively on the defense where they've lacked before against Fisher.
For Fisher, too, it was really, you know, talking about Chloric there, of being there for the team, now slowly being there for the team right now, taking that entry in, leaving Comey wanting to push themselves backwards. Winthrop taking that first-hand spot, down in that 1-0, looking for something bigger. You see the Spectres, they're coming out. Luckily for Dory, a nice right-click touch.
Looking for any extra damage here. It's Fisher. Hogan might want to pass the Ghost Sun up, but this team, Winthrop, the threat is Chloric. You were just talking about him leading this team in this entry, and it's a theme that we're going to see throughout this first map and throughout this series. Fisher College, extremely dominant in the first kill department against Winthrop, and one of the key win conditions for Winthrop is dominating Chloric and ensuring that he gets shut down. Moves typically in that head-to-head. This time around, it will be Flair in the raised position. How does he compare and stack up against Chloric, who historically has been really strong on this map to split with the entries? And I think it is, in addition to this really nice composition between Logan and Dory, and we just got to see a very small sample to pistol around. Dory kind of leading Chloric in towards B Heaven with his fault line. Winthrop absolutely cannot get, you know, dominated like they have been in the past in that first kill department, because they don't win multiple 4v5s against this team. They've lost 2 players here. Very, very light damage done to them, but they will pick up the second round.
Yeah, it really was just a Spectre play there. For them, it was having everything inside of their arsenal, but you talked about it before, actually, you know, in the green screen, so in the green room. So Winthrop University, they're a team that really need to get those first picks.
Yeah, and we'll see a decent display here. It is a bonus round here for Winthrop University as Fisher College, similar to the pistol, will be leaning towards his B side. Winthrop are contesting instead, this time towards the A side, it looks like at the moment. As Fisher College kind of prep themselves for an early contact towards B, but there is going to be none of that.
Yeah, just waiting around. Nothing happening just yet. It's more information based as to wanting to hit that B site, but you know, Fisher not having a very, very good track record.
Going to break this trap wire very early on as Clark to try and make that entry happen. He has no blast packs to get into the site. No Sage to lead them up as well, but the Trailblazer will catch it eventually, and there's nobody peeking here on Winthrop, and Clark is going to punish one. There's that first kill.
It's already good. Fisher taking the first 2. He can't do anything. Winthrop right now, they have Nazi's util to bring themselves in, but already overextending themselves down to that site. Damage luckily not hitting.
And it puts them in a full retake situation. Moves wanted to go big with a flash, but Nazi, the last man standing on 8 HP. Fisher College in their first rifle round, for themselves at least, will pick up this round as Nasi, if he gets a kill here, he'll have the Rolling Thunder to play with. And on the flip side, if Dory gets that kill, he puts him one off of that Rolling Thunder. Tuzi's going to be the one holding this angle, though. So Winthrop getting overwhelmed in this round, not taking those early peeks towards B main. And ultimately, it allows Chloric that free space to just walk out, and he catches a completely oblivious Comey.
And Aussie's going to try their best to at least stall some time find a Phantom for themselves, but regardless, they can't keep it. 8 health. And it doesn't matter how much health you have, you're going to go down to that spike. But it was a valiant effort there from Winthrop. Unluckily enough, yeah, Fisher is going to take that domination inside of their own map pick.
It is good that he dies to release a player, so he is going to get the ult orb in
Yeah.
addition to losing that round, so there's at least a slight silver lining. He wanted to hunt for a kill as well. But Winthrop, now they'll get the rifles out. Last round was essentially just their bonus. They lost 2 players, didn't expect too much. They came in with 2 pistols. This is where the action really starts to boil. And where we're going to see, again, how both these teams want to approach this map. What we're seeing early on is Winthrop taking a very aggressive stance, especially in these A main and B main extremities. And we're going to see a little bit more here towards B, as there's only one play to receive, being Rex Gator.
Oh, I actually like this approach too. They're trying for something different, making a fake out there with a TP from that Omen.
In the meantime, though, there's been a very deep Trailblazer dropped by Logan that's just gained so much space over towards Ramp, but he's not capitalizing on it just yet. It's a Fisher that are slowly but surely edging their way up into what I'd imagine would be an A split here. You can see there's a fault line prepared here for Dory to set Chloric up as he wants to take elevator control.
Keeping things still. If Logan peeks that, yeah, that's going to be a sky on sky fight. Still actually gaining a lot of control here. Fisher slowly but surely leaning over towards them.
Logan with this space, I imagine we're going to end over here towards A, and Alarm Bot as well towards B, but Chloric, I think he's just trying to sell a fake here. Doesn't feel like a full commitment, and yeah, he just blasts backs away. They're going to split back in towards elevator. They broke the trap wire here earlier, so it's kind of free access. There's only a cam and 2 players on the site. A77 might be kind of ditched here by moves if they don't fight together.
Even then, you saw Winthrop, they tried to keep that patience there. Luckily enough, it's not going to help. A77 trying to play on that backside to keep things solid here. And Winthrop University, I mean, they're using their aim, they're using their willpower to keep things down. Chloric is beautiful, taking another in, but it's A77 again. Just making it happen for the team. The 1v1 situation, Logan underneath, taking it. And it's a beautiful play from Comey.
Big round for Winthrop, and I think the slow style that Fisher went for in this round allowed rotations for Winthrop. Like, very quickly, Nasi was in towards heaven. He set a quick flash, was able to peek in, get a kill. Chloric goes big for a double, but that's not enough to win you around like that. Fisher a little bit slow to the punch on that A site. And it's due to the fact that Winthrop are being very dominant in that early map control. It's forcing Fisher to take their time, clear other parts of the map. They're going out towards mid, where eventually they're going to get stopped. And that was the round where they got stopped in the first round. They do have enough for another buy here. And Winthrop maybe easing off the gas a little bit in aggression.
If anything, too, you talked about Fisher's attack being very solid. I'm seeing something completely different here. They're struggling a very heavy amount.
Fault line, oh, that's a really nice cam tag. That'll give them a lot of space here. And 3 players looking to just hunt one guy down. Logan's got his work cut out for him. A great fault line, though, sent by Dory, keeps him alive, and that will put the pressure here towards heaven on Comey. He's the only man here right now.
And that's such a great time to really save things up for that paranoia to use for the retake here. Chloric finding a beautiful shot through smoke.
And that's the Rolling Thunder gone as well, so the retake gets a little bit more difficult in this essentially 5-on-5 rifle round.
Oh, just down on the right-hand side. You see that
turrets.
Oh, beautiful play. Logan just behind, 3K there. Really keeping things intact.
A pretty big turnaround here for Fisher College. Winthrop, I think, overextending a little bit. That 3-man aggression, I think that's the play here for Fisher. You kind of recognize where exactly Winthrop are getting aggressive, and you spin the block, you spin the narrative, and you just go to the other side. They did that here. Chloric led the charge with his showstopper, was able to punish Nasi. I think getting a little bit too aggressive in that instance, especially with the threat of Rolling Thunder, or apologies, a showstopper, you can't take those kind of angles where you can get caught off guard.
Especially now with Chloric's ult gone. Still so much stack up that we got to see. Nasi still having that Rolling Thunder as well. So there's a lot to play with leading forward for Winthrop University.
Look at the economy. It does not look good for Winthrop. It should be a tied scoreline with Fisher's obviously dominant by. But again, that last round was, it did feel like a lot of aggression, overextension from Winthrop. And so I think the rounds go on, and you kind of need to calm that down. There's an extent that you can go to. Maybe in eco rounds, or apologies, anti-eco rounds, can you do that kind of extension hunt for kills? But when there are rifles in the hands of Fisher, and I think Logan played that extremely smart in the last, he kind of slowed the tempo down, backed away, and Dory was really keen getting his teammate out of there with his fault line. Fisher should be looking at the third round here. They're just entering into the stage site kind of completely for free. Comey was a solo B player, so no Phantom here to kind of slow these players down. As Fisher College will instantly get this spike down, and we'll be left in a 5 versus 5 retake. Pistols for Winthrop.
Tuzi, very dangerous position, but they got back up here. They're still gonna fight this flare. Nice right click down. And Clork fighting for something. I mean, it's big. They got classics. What else can you do there? Other than really pray and spray for something big.
Nasi just a little bit late with this fault line to support his teammates. He'll still have the Rolling Thunder moving into the next, but we also have Dory with his Rex Skater. Not too far from his ultimate. Logan as well charging up the ult. Comey just tries to slip on through. That's tied up.
Yeah.
As Fisher College put on a streak of rounds here. This is where the changes, I think very slight changes actually for Winthrop need to happen. They've got 5 ultimates as well to work with here. And I don't imagine we're going to see that early aggression. You're playing with a Rolling Thunder retake, which, again, a very major ult in this game to take back space. And yeah, it looks like they're not looking to get aggressive early on like we saw towards B-Man and towards A-Man. It's Fisher instead that I think are going to lead into this round just off this Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, Fisher College have also been getting a lot better at really keeping that space. You know, you're looking at Logan, obviously being one of those main factors. Those flashes making such a big number here, hopefully off the flare. Not seeming like it will. Flare backs off, seeing that Pain Shell trying to make that damage, but Showstopper comes out. It's a complete miss.
Fruitless. He tried to push him back, and he did exactly that, but there's still space here for Fisher. They still have that Rolling Thunder that in the back pockets can get them directly onto the site. That's a really nice fall line, though, from Nasi to slow things down and buy a little bit of time for Winthrop to sort things out, but they're playing with a lack of information. There's nothing towards B main or nothing towards mid telling them that this is a full commitment towards A. And these players, at least for Winthrop, playing a little bit scared off site.
Actually, some information there, so it's good enough here. Winthrop still having that insurance that, hey, somebody's down in A, and keeping their own players surrounded down towards B. So they're just relying on each other, like they said, keeping it together.
There's that early peek. Flare getting info, a little bit of damage as well. But we're at 40 seconds left, and there's that first kill. Flare, there goes that Rolling Thunder, so this height hit just gets a whole lot more difficult here.
Making the impossible happen. They're rotating all the way up towards heaven, finding a completely different angle to take, not wanting to take on that race. Still, again, so many ultimates ready for Winthrop University. There comes the util.
And they are scrambling in towards mid. A big Rolling Thunder from Nasi. He finds a triple. And there's nothing here for this Fisher College team. Again, shut down by a singular play. And Fisher, that slow start comes out to a grueling end.
That's what happens when you mess with the one and only Nasi. I said it, they're nasty, so yeah, they're gonna keep that together. That was a beautiful play coming through. Look at the amount of importance that had.
And it's the timing that Fisher are going in with these rounds. We're not seeing that explosive start. Like, Clork can definitely be dominant on these entries. Send him in with a Rolling Thunder. And those slow starts are putting extra pressure on Fisher College to try and make something happen. They're going to try again towards the safe side. Still that Rolling Thunder, but there's some resistance. Comey with a big swing, but he doesn't find anything.
Oh, still the paranoia. This is big. Clork completely blinded away. Luckily enough, not getting taken down. They took the retake instead.
And another 5-on-5. Winthrop very quick to the scene here. 4 players getting to retake towards ramp, and there's nobody from Fisher to support this player, X-Skater.
Actually, completely getting quartered out just by util alone. The Omen coming around the back. Comey trying to find something big. Now you see that flare coming down with the race through the smoke. Winthrop University again. I mean, they just keep on aiming, keep on dueling, and they win it out.
And this is a big team fight to win if you're Winthrop University. They're so quick to the scene as well. Fisher, Telegraph, the paranoia delaying as well. You can see how quickly it split that team up. And holding Clork as like the solo entry with no one else following behind him, and they couldn't confidently get the spike down just yet. Fisher will still have enough credits to make a buy happen, but this is a Winthrop that looks a lot more confident. I think Fisher tried to accelerate the tempo there, but didn't have the exact game plan they wanted for the lead in with the Rolling Thunder. But that post run, you have to be ready. When you're telegraphed like that, Winthrop are gonna know what's coming before you even set yourself up.
Yeah, they've most definitely studied this team. I mean, Fisher College, they've been a team that have been so consistent. What do they need to change? Kept their pretty much composition the same, not cooking much up this time around. So, you know, that might also be that weakness.
And there's going to be a slight change here. They've tried the full A take, the default, and they realize, I think, the main issue is taking too long for these exits. There's a perfect medium, and Fisher College should be trying to push Winthrop in uncomfortable positions, right? Look for early map control, establish like B main or A main, and then you can manipulate the map, because multiple times in the rounds that they weren't doing full execs, Fisher were just only taking up towards mid, and that's a one-dimensional exec. Whichever site you're going, you're going to be read and you're going to be dealt with pretty confidently by a defensive team on this map.
Oh, it's looking good. And, you know, you also discussed shortly before that defense from Fisher isn't, you know, looking too solid. So if they continue in this pace, it's going to be pretty hard to come back.
Honestly, it's not that their defense is bad. It's just they never have to play more than like 3 rounds in the defense. Like, again, 72% win rate on the attack.
Yeah.
This is a Winthrop team that knew they needed to come in with a very confident defensive side. And honestly, they needed to come in with a confident first map. This map pool in general was never going to favor them. So to win this map would be a massive upset in the way of this series, and Winthrop beginning to invest down towards mid.
There's a big play on Flair. No, but they're still holding that crosshold just in case the other comes out. They still take it. Winthrop University, first engagement big.
And this is where they're losing that map control, Fisher. Giving Winthrop that space. Winthrop switching up the tempo just off that tack timeout. I love it.
1 enemy remaining.
And it looks like it's going to be a flawless round. Rexgator, he had the lockdown in this round, but he's not going to be able to use it this time around. A 6th, more than likely, on the board here for Winthrop. And it is looking like a defeated Fisher. Winthrop coming in with a different game plan, a different composition, and I think Fisher, from the multiple times that they played Winthrop on this map, did not expect this kind of luck.
I don't think anybody did. They come in here again looking like the underdogs, and you're going 6-3. That's a brand new Winthrop.
A lockdown available here for Fisher, but that's really all they've got in terms of ultimates in this round. And I don't think they're going to elect to use it as we move forward.
Tactics speed 5.
But Winthrop will again continue that aggression. There's going to be a paranoia to set up Flair early for this engagement, but I mean, lesser guns, I don't think you're really going to need to invest too much into this instance. And Fisher College looking to switch the tempo up. Trailblazer gets in towards Mail. That will lead Clark, and there's nobody watching. Hold the phone a second. Clark has got a pretty big gap, but that's a massive 1-for-1 trade, but Nasi just barely catching the head of Clark, and that will shut down any play towards Heaven.
Feels like there's a very different level of confidence coming out from Winthrop right now. Not afraid of anything, especially now with Flair still even jiggle peeking this corner. Logan,
like
even with a Sheriff, takes that.
I think overcommitted to that fight, and in eco rounds like this, you don't want to give up those 1v1s. And Tuzi, that's a big trapwire break. It's immediately shifted A77 over back towards the A side. He's going to check the cam, and that's a big flash as well. Winthrop should know this is headed towards A, but I don't like the instance that they're in. Moves trying to deal with it one-on-one. And it is going to be enough. Winthrop, overpowering with these rifles, will get them across the line at 7-3. They've guaranteed themselves the leading half going into the second.
It's impossible to get back from this, especially with the momentum that they're going out here from Fisher. But we do have a lockdown, so that's something to look forward to. Rexgator, Tuzi, whatever they want to use here, most definitely can boost their chances. Fisher, they need to bring out the stops right now, or else it's too late.
Lockdown in the back pocket of Rexgator, still yet to be used. Keep an eye on Nasi, who's 1 kill off this ultimate, and look how aggressive they're getting towards A main. That's a free ult orb here in a second, and Nasi will have a retake Rolling Thunder. And again, pressuring Logan immensely. He's forced to back away, and that should cue Fisher to try and get aggressive elsewhere.
You should run.
Still ranging around down towards mid. Is this a fake is the question. Already actually trying to lure everybody down towards mid for Fisher to take on. Now there comes Flair. Already stunned out the flash as well. Luckily finding some cover.
And both teams not recognizing this aggression as an opportunity to take space. Fisher are still looking to duel instead of taking that B site.
And not looking to fight it already. The flank coming around. Look at it move, slowly working their way back. This is going to be such a big play if they play with this. A beautiful one, actually missing the shots, moves! Misses out on an opportunity for a beautiful 4K to come down.
And it puts it back into a 2 versus 2. He could have sealed the round right then and there. 45 left. And Fisher trapped, sucked in towards the Winthrop trap in mid. And with 35 left, Fisher have got no info. They've left the B site here, Winthrop, and
30
left
seconds
behind
left.
remnants of a Cypher trail. 3 stars, Cosmic Divide for Tuzi. A strong post-plant situation to be in. Flash is online here in a second for Logan. But Winthrop, very, very far from the situation. Spike goes down. Again, multiple stars for 2G. They can play a very strong post plant here, but smokes from Comey
Covering it.
cover up B main and can cover up this backside. So I like the fact that Fisher are playing together. They won't be separated by any Comey smokes at all in this instance.
If Winthrop do not get this one.
My eyes are down.
Unfortunate line of events going through from that moves wave, but still. 64 health left for Comey, looking for something, actually getting a TP, trying to fake it, takes the angle, but it's Logan that's bigger. Again, a beautiful play. Winthrop University, man, that moves in that moment. Again, feeling that pressure from Fisher, but still owing that respect as well.
And in this last round, showstopper for Chloric. Cosmic Divide left over from that last round.
One enemy
This is a
remaining.
Winthrop. They're looking to close this one out in dominant fashion. Fisher, 5 to their name would be a blessing as they will approach this A site hot and heavy off of this showstopper. Logan to lead them in, but there's not a lot of resistance here for Winthrop, and not retake util. Moves has even pulled up the op, so I don't know how I like that in this situation of a retake.
No, it's not going to be an easy retake. If anything, gonna have to use those flashes to try to get that site back. Nobody's moved in yet. Fisher's still waiting and stalling out for time.
And Chloric can get aggressive.
Beautiful play. Comey trying to get away, but it's not enough.
He gets one off of his nade and takes space. Look how scared Fisher are to retake that spot because they killed the one anchor there. Comey went down. Now there's not that control. Ult online here for Tori. And what would you look at this? Quick aggression from Fisher. The Fishes are swimming towards the defender spawn.
Can't get anything. It's that Cosmic Divide that leads that coverage there. Flair with a nice burst pick, and still, now is the time. It's that one elimination that Flair needs to be able to get that showstopper and maybe completely end this round off. This is it for Winthrop University. Pulling out the stops is Fisher College. And it's Nasi left alone in a 2v2 situation. Flair, beautiful play from Winthrop.
An 8-4 Winthrop with an utterly dominant first half here. It's 8-4 Fisher College with work to do in this second half. And they will take a very short break at this halftime. We'll be right back with the second half of Winthrop versus Fisher.
I'm here with Director of Esports of Winthrop, Josh Sides. Josh, congratulations on having both teams in League of Legends and Valorant here. Obviously, a great start in Valorant. Kind of tell me, what does this development and having both squads represented this weekend mean to you and the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a huge goal coming into this year, knowing that Riot was going to be bringing out not only League, but the Valorant team as well. That was a big goal for us, was to qualify both teams here. I know there were a couple of schools that came pretty close, but us being the only one to do that was, you know, huge for us.
Tell me about how the growth of the organization, especially from the smaller beginnings just recently to the success now, what has been key to that?
Yeah, every year we've just kind of been growing more and more, you know, scaling up resources. You know, our league team and our teams historically have done a great job of being really competitive and showing our university's administration that, you know, they're worth, you know, putting resources into. So going into next year, we've got a 6,500 square foot facility opening up. You know, we're expanding our staff. We're expanding out the program. So we're, you know, continuing to grow.
That was a pretty good pitch. That was almost my next question. But what are the conversations like when you speak to prospective students and families? Because it looks like you have a lot of family representation out here at the Championships today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think collegiate is a unique opportunity for people who want to compete at the highest level to continue to do that while also pursuing a degree and bettering themselves, not only as you know, their future as students, you know, building to a career, but also, you know, bettering themselves as people. We try and, you know, not just develop the player, develop the person.
Always important to hear that aspect there. Thank you very much, Josh.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Congratulations to all the success that Winthrop has had. Let's send it back on over to the casters for the second half of map number 1.
All right, second half underway, ready to see what's going to happen between Winthrop and Fisher. It's the pistol round starting off here.
And at 8-4, Winthrop with a dominant first half. We go into the second half with expectations of Fisher coming back. Again, one of their best maps, undoubtedly. And so for this map pool, you know, it favored Winthrop in the sense that they would have the first map selection. They came from the upper bracket, but this is the map for Fisher College, and it has not been in their favor at all so far. And this pistol round could be do or die. The defensive side, it's not the worst. It's the lesser of the two sides that they've played on, purely because they always start on the attack and have always put up very dominant numbers. We haven't seen the full display. And Winthrop, they know what's at stake here. A rematch of the East. And Flair, aggressive for Winthrop to try and start us off.
Already coming up, Chloric taking that first pick, beautiful. But Winthrop, they need this pistol round if anything. So they got to try to fight back for something.
And it was all a distraction. Winthrop will try and lean towards B. That's a huge shot from Kobe, but a little bit delayed. A77 on the spot to make that trade.
Actually, two players up in heaven. This is a nice shot. Maybe taking out moves. Yep, beautiful. Already up the top. Fisher College, though, again, being put in a good position and now taking the pistol round. So they're up 1.
And that's a massive pistol round for Fisher. Again, that's a massive pistol round for this entire series in general. This is a Winthrop team that a lot of their map losses, when you look at their VLR stats, are dealt to them by Fisher College. And so this map was split. They have 2 losses, both to Fisher. We knew that this series, map pool-wise, was not going to favor Winthrop, and so this first map and that pistol round might have saved Fisher in this series from going down possibly 2-0. Haven is up next, and it is a strong map for Winthrop.
Yeah.
So to lose this map here, Fisher could spell doom. So that pistol round, again, all pivotal in that sense.
Hoping to keep it again. A big thing here. It's really what Winthrop is going to do to try to counter this very, very unfortunate positioning here. Already the first one coming off on Flair, and he's still feeling confident. That's a beautiful pickup.
And that's 2 guns picked up as well. Bulldog and a Spectre, but up towards heaven. Dory was not yet to peek, and Dory might be a little bit late. This is getting dicey. That's 2 guns picked up, but thankfully Rex Skater up top, the captain, the king. And a big 1 versus 1 to keep his team in this map.
Bot coming back.
With that first initial pick coming through from Winthrop, Flair opening things up beautifully for Comey.
And a lot of decisive positions that Comey has to clear. And it doesn't look like B main is anywhere on the menu. A little bit late, and even was going to TP in towards it. Rex Skater, the crown on his head, and he will take the round for Fisher despite it going to a 1 versus 1. That was a very, very costly round for Fisher College, and they're going to feel the repercussions moving forward as we will have Winthrop on their first full buy.
Actually served them well as well. If Fisher want to buy up here, that economy's not going to look too great. Actually coming into this half buy instead. Yeah, I mean, for Winthrop, biggest thing is, you know, that was a winnable round, kind of letting that one go.
Yeah. And it was, I think, in part because Dory didn't just swing quick enough. He had a very good opportunity to take 2 of those players down, but he was late to that swing, cost them some lives. And I mean, look at this buy for Fisher. They won the first 2 rounds, but now you're questioning who's actually the victor of those last 2. They've got scraps in this one.
Speaking of scraps, I mean, they're trying to scrap up here over towards B. Tuzi still. Oh, nice flash actually coming out from the sky here from Fisher.
It's a quiet walk up. Winthrop feeling the aggression towards B, found a gap, did not have A control, but now they know that there's a push there, so that should cue this B hit. As Flair leads the charge, there's again, not a lot of resistance here for Fisher. These 2 players just doing what they can to hold it down.
Loosen up.
Unfortunate, yeah. Everybody already taken down, though. Again, for Winthrop, right? They put themselves in a position where that +1 could happen. So working around the top, you can see somebody slowly working their way up towards stairs. Up in heaven, Rex Skater, now Logan. First shot found.
This Bulldog from Rex Skater will really have to go big, and it's his timing here with his mid player, but he's being watched as well. The opportunities very, very quickly slipping away as Winthrop will have 2 players left. Okay, back's turned, but Rex Skater not able to capitalize on that first player. We'll give Winthrop their 9th round, and that will restore some confidence in this attacking side, but that wasn't the first rifle round. We're going to see it here in the next.
Yeah, an unfortunate round for Fisher, but a good one for Winthrop. That's gonna continue on. There's not a lot to work with, though, when you're looking at, you know, what exactly they can really combine with here for Winthrop.
Ults again will begin to come online for both of these teams. You can see not too far off this lockdown, not too far off this rolling thunder for the side of Nasi. And a showstopper for Flare as well coming through. This can be a game-changing round, whoever wins it. A reset onto Fisher with a loss here. Winthrop kind of in the same boat. Moves on a decent cushion of economy. But it's not a round that either of these teams can really give up. And if you're a Fisher fan, you definitely don't want your team to give up a round here. A reset would put Winthrop onto possibly 11. And Winthrop just exploring the map. They felt aggression towards A. They saw nothing towards mid. And now they see nothing towards B main. This is a lot of free real estate, and I don't like the way Fisher are playing this. They're playing, again, relatively blind to what Winthrop want to do here, and it might catch Tuzi off guard as he's got no other support right now.
Yeah, but Tuzi's already prepared for that. Look at that. Beautiful.
Finally.
Coming in with a gravitational pull around the back. It's Flare. Nice first pick coming through. Although Fisher, again, losing that balance. Still trying to pick it back up on the defense. Cloric left alone, and around the back comes Comey. Still looking for that fight. And it doesn't matter how aware you are, it's not going to happen.
Cloric just staying alive as long as he can. He wants to get the From the Shadows on. But Cloric doing just enough to delay and allow his two teammates to rotate in. Fisher College, that was a round they had to pick up. It would have reset them, but now they stay afloat. Two players alive. The economy looks fine. And Winthrop will be the ones to suffer the economic repercussions.
Slowly working their way back. You know, it was an instant surprise at the way that things were looking for Fisher. But, you know, with hopes held high, ultimates also coming on lock. They just got to pretty much farm.
We're going to see a couple of ults come online in this round, or at least for the next. Winthrop, hand revealed by that one guiding light. And Flare, he does have the ultimate, and we've seen Winthrop put on damage in their anti-ecos, or apologies, their eco rounds. Fisher just have the better buy here. And Winthrop, ooh, a little bit of damage there. We're looking to see if they can maybe pull guns out of their hands, because the economy is like not fully out of the woodwork yet for Fisher. They kept two players alive, but guns need to be dropped over. Spectres were used in this round. So key thing here is Fisher keeping these players alive, and I think a couple of kills for like Cloric, Rex, and Dora would be really nice to get those three major ultimates, I feel, for the next round.
Yeah, and I like the trust Fisher have in each other, because even with the anchor still staying over towards that B site. No noise, though, being made for Winthrop. Actually, nice flash coming through. Oh, beautiful play from Cloric. Still just waiting. And again, the patience paying off for Fisher, but the aim not. Nasi taking a nice tap on. It's up to Winthrop now.
Dora feeling the pressure. B goes down, gets a kill. That's the ultimate. Nice, easy farm for Fisher College. And there are those ultimates coming online. Cloric, Dory, Rex. The three ultimates that I was talking about, the three major ones I wanted to see online, they've got them. And Flare just got shut down trying to entry in. I don't know if that was a risk or a misclick. It just didn't feel like a necessary ult for that round. And now they won't have the showstopper moving forward. I think what he wanted to do was get into the backside, open up space, but in an eco round like that, the risk and the reward, the risk is very, very great, because you won't have it for this one, and that's what they don't have now.
Yeah, potentially take it back for sure. So much going on for Fisher here. Already smashed your util, ranging around down in mid, but the biggest thing we're missing out on is that map control. Slowly, Flare works it up.
There's a rolling thunder that was just used, and Comey, 1 ATB! We didn't even catch that from the shadows into the back. Ult to push him in, and now Logan's under pressure. Somehow, some way, Winthrop are spinning this one around, but there's still a fight left in these Fisher boys.
We have the spike still down inside of a garage, so it is a possibility. Winthrop, they need to fight this down, and they have only, basically no flashes left from Moobs.
Look at the way the script is flipped. Spike in B main. And it's Fisher, actually on the attacking front, flanking these two Winthrop players. Blind, oblivious, clueless even. Both players with their backs turned, but a chance for moves. They don't find him initially and could get something. But up top was Logan. And Fisher, again, taking a key round to tie things up at 9-9.
These arms for a spin.
Yeah, they read into that beautifully. Quite honestly, they knew that wraparound was going to happen.
It's a lockdown still for Rexgator from the Fisher camp. Aggression between these both teams, a lovely combo though from Winthrop, but overextending, giving gap for Fisher College to push through. I think a timeout called here. Or apologies, maybe even a tech pause between these teams, a technical issue on the stage, but Winthrop 9-9. This is a Fisher College that we were speaking about their attacking side. It was dominant, it looked really, really strong. And we were concerned for the defense, but only because we haven't seen Fisher play, or really not play, but ever need to play a long defensive half. And here they're putting up very strong numbers. Individually, it's been a great showing from Logan, who is this guy that I think kind of got swept under the rug when you talk about Chloric. He's been playing really solid, and in this map in particular, his flashes have been key for info, key for setting up Chloric, and he's been very, very clutch in a lot of these, like, when he's one of the anchors, those 2vx situations. He's been very, very clutch and very controlled when it comes to winning those fights.
Also saying the same thing for Nasi as well, just because you've seen those Rolling Thunders come out live and play. It was probably the strongest thing that you could have seen there, with Nasi being able to help Flare down onto site, really just get those retakes down on that defensive side. So applying that pressure just to allow everybody else to really succeed in those engagements.
Just leading Flare into the site. Good paranoia, but oh, I don't like this fight from Chloric. He's kind of alone here. You need a quick readjustment from Dory.
Actually doesn't need anything. Seems like Paint Shell is going to be enough. Immediate victory there from Fisher.
That's a clean round as well. His defensive side is looking good. The one long half that we've ever seen from Fisher on the defense was actually against Winthrop. They won the map 15-13, but it took an 8-4
1 second, people.
defensive half to pull them back from 4-8 deficit. And they started on the attack against Winthrop, so changes made by Winthrop. I don't think exactly proving themselves yet on the attack. They've only got one round amassed between the 7 that have been played, and here in round number 20, they'll need to pull something back here before Fisher find 11.
Preparation set up from Logan, still waiting for a flash to peek out. You got 3 players here from Fisher, standing around down in mid.
And as soon as they feel contact, Chloric is going to pounce off of that flash. He's got a blast pack set up as well. No showstopper, but they've got a fault line, a flash, everything at the ready. And they just retook mid. That's everything there for the side of Fisher. And they've seen nothing towards B. One begins to lean back towards A. And look at the KJ setup as well. And I love Rex beginning to lean away from the site. He'll be in a good spot to play the retake with his ultimate, as Logan is reestablishing having control. That flash as well. Again, that's what I'm talking about. His flashes have been instrumental.
They're really good at fighting off these engagements. Already look at this. Fisher doing something big here. Logan with the reposition. Unfortunately, Moves knows where they are.
I think a little bit of a risk there from Logan to try and jump into the site and get aggressive. It gave a lot of opportunities for Winthrop to pick him off, and this was a round that Winthrop needed. No lockdown for this retake. And Winthrop won't make the same mistake of fighting A ramp, but instead Chloric trying to get back into the action quickly.
Still though, Chloric, nice flash, and that's what I'm talking about. Already coming in, it's Dory now. That initiator making their own numbers, making their own gameplay. 2Z. So down towards the right-hand side, does not see Nasi in that lower right-hand corner. Is going to be able to take it.
And tied up, Winthrop with a massive round to not get reset, to not give Fisher the death number of 11. It would have been one mistake and Winthrop would have dropped this map, but that single round will keep them in this map. Give them an opportunity to win it out. Big entry from A77 to get back into that one. Trades his 2 teammates out after Chloric finds a massive double, and there's still a lot left to be desired between these 2 teams in this map, and Fisher College know it as well. They still have that lockdown to play with. And still, this time, actually, Rexgator will play offside. I like this a little bit more than the last round setup because he will effectively have a full retake setup.
They're actually trying to fight off this engagement down in mid. They know this mid control is of utmost importance, and Chloric does a good job of trying to stop that, but unfortunately, it's Winthrop taking it back.
Moves is, I think, catching a player through the smoke towards elevator. Logan dropping quickly. And now this defense begins to scramble, and Fisher, with 3 players left, are not confident to take any space after losing mid control. They're a little bit worried in this instance.
Really solid information, and also a kind of a stall there coming down from B. Thinking that the players are still ranging around down towards there, while the rotation here from Winthrop going towards A.
And maybe reading into the fact that it's a solo player here. Rex played here last round, expecting maybe him to be here again. Seekers reveal the Rex's positioning. No util to help support him, but that could be 2. That could be 2! But he misses Comey and that golden opportunity to lock down the site and give his team a really big advantage going into the retake.
Oh, that would have been big, but the spray transfer not connecting there. Still, though, a 3v2. Let's not forget numbers there for Winthrop. They cannot lose this.
I don't know if Fisher want to really go for this. You don't have a lot of cash between Dory and Tuzi. Buys can be passed around, but you don't have money to play with. Not a lot of time as well. Chloric, very big on these entries. We'll have to find something.
Yeah, still, though, Tuzi actually finding someone down towards back of sight. I don't think it's going to be enough regardless. Still hitting the shot. First one down, some smoke's not available, so it's going to have to be up to Chloric here. Both the duo here, first shot, nice, beautiful off of Nazi.
And that's 3 for him to close out the round. Winthrop needed a play like that, and it gets him onto the Rolling Thunder. Mid-fight goes away very handily to Winthrop. Maybe a little bit of luck between Nasi and Moves, who Moves found one through the smoke, and Fisher, I don't think, had the game plan. Yes, they got the first blood onto Flare, and that gave them some semblance of confidence towards mid, but overextending quite a bit. We'll have the second and final timeout from Fisher College as they begin to figure out what needs to be done. They're playing on pins and needles. Look at the buy that we'll have moving forward once we come off of this timeout. It's not looking pretty whatsoever, and we knew the last round you wanted to consider a save. They didn't consider the save. And they elected to try and risk it all in that round and just come back to bite them here.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, too. Fisher College, Winthrop are making a lot of adaptations needed to be done. You saw those mid-fights happening, and Winthrop were really good at actually trying to counter that, especially that last round that we just saw. So it's things like that where Fisher also need to keep thinking on their feet. Unfortunate but hard. Rolling Thunder, though, available for Nasi here, so there is a chance. I mean, assuming Fisher's trying to counter that as well.
And you can see Fisher College tense in their face, tense between those 5 players. This is a series that they were very, very expected to win. And to be pushed this close on one of their best maps, a new look from Winthrop has proved valiant so far. But is this look going to be the one that takes them across the line here on the B site? Fault lines exchange, TP across, Comey looking for space, and Fisher quick to adjust, backing off the site, ready for this Rolling Thunder to come through. And I like where Dory is gone. He's playing back towards defender spawn to try and maintain control for the retake, but Tuzi's kind of caught on an island. Yes, he'll get support from Rexgator, but they're walking up here, Winthrop. There's not a noise with this Rolling Thunder.
And they're not planning to fake it this time. Rexgator actually stops that hold for just a second for Tuzi to get that relocation down. First one already, but it's going to be unfortunate here because they can't fight any longer. That reinforcement comes back, and it's Dory making it big.
And now Nasi forced out by the lockdown. What a hold from Fisher. And what a delay between the players, and having Rexgator getting one was very, very crucial. And Winthrop missing a massive smoke towards defender spawn. Didn't get the timing right, and it dissipates, or it just wasn't there. There just was no smoke, and Chloric, or apologies, Flare just gets caught out wide in the open, and Fisher tie things up. They should be looking to get onto 12, given the buy that Winthrop will have moving forward, and they are going to be using their final timeout as we come out of this replay to figure out what needs to be done, because they know how crucial this map was going to be for this series. Again, the map pool doesn't typically ever favor Winthrop in these best of 5s, just because every map loss that they have, every map you look at, any loss that they have, it's always Fisher dealing them heavy-handed losses. So a map win on split was almost crucial to winning out this series. And this next round is going to be a very, very crucial one, because they don't have the buy to supplement an exec. And they only have a Rolling Thunder really to get them going. Flare's one off his showstopper, but how effective is that really going to be? He got shut down the one time he tried to use it in their eco round.
Yeah, you can also really sense both teams are desperate for this victory, whether it be Winthrop just wanting to prove that Fisher is not their enemy, or Fisher just really wanting to keep that streak going and maybe carry it on towards that game with Northwood. This game is the most important for the both of them to move on.
The expectations, again, Fisher, 3 best-of-5s played between these two teams, and they have won every single one in the last 3 months.
Turret out.
A stepping stone to the grand finals for Fisher. Winthrop, the underdogs, have proven themselves competitive in this series off of this one map. But in this round, is it competitive? Sheriffs. A rolling thunder, an infill given up between both mid and towards heaven. Footsteps heavy towards ramp now.
Grenade!
And Fisher playing smart. 2 players, 2 key players. Chloric, Dory in the back. And the top frag, Logan, not too far off. It's a deadly trio on the A site.
Actually continuing to play this, though. They just want to keep this. Nasi making a rolling thunder happen, but luckily that fault line actually making some plays here. Beautiful defense already starting off. Logan big with the 3K to keep it going. And again, it is going to be Fisher.
And you have to feel that that round loss might have cost the map for Winthrop. Investing that rolling thunder, you won't have it in the next. Player's got a showstopper to entry, but that was a painful, painful round between these two teams. And Winthrop taking a lot of the heat.
One enemy remaining.
We're in the last round of this map. And Fisher, their map pick. And they're 1 round away from starting off 1-0 in this best of 5 in the lower finals. Winthrop needs something huge in this round to push us to OT.
If anything, it's going to be Chloric. Talked about them being the master of the game, but already again, it's moving up towards mid, but the spike isn't there.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Density towards mid between these two teams. At an all-time high, 4 players edging their way up this mid bracket. And Logan, the lone receiver. He's good. Don't get me wrong, he's been damn good so far. But he'll need a little bit extra here, and I like that he backs away, gets all the info. They're spamming for these early seekers. They popped very early with a minute left in this round. Dory still 1 off that rolling thunder. Not in a spot to get an ult toward, but a kill on the A site. You're kind of baiting Rex Skater in this position so he can get that ult.
Right there.
And Winthrop begin the silent walk up. The confidence on this A site with this KJ setup from their captain. And Winthrop out of options and running out of time. They're leaning to the A site, and that's where they have to find anything, any kills to lead them in.
That's going to be even harder too. Rex Skater not found out, but there it comes. The showstopper down. Still potential here, slowly but surely working their way around. And a beautiful play. Fisher again making their count.
Defenders win.
And map number 1, picked by Fisher College Navy, will ultimately end up going their way. And it was a crucial map that they had to pick up from an 8-4 start. And that first half, they get it done. A dominant defending side, shutting down Winthrop at every single turn. Logan being a massive helping hand. Chloric stepping up towards the end. That is the Fisher College that you want going into this best of 5.
That is the Fisher College that we're used to as well, but I'm not gonna lie to you, Sully. I do think we owe some respect there from Winthrop. They put out a beautiful game and really put themselves out there.
Absolutely, handing it to them on their defensive side, shutting down Fisher College on a lot of those exits and taking a lot of early map control was big for Winthrop. Players looked really confident, but I think towards the tail end, Fisher definitely found their stride and began to dominate that defensive side.
And that domination is exactly what Fisher is used to, but I don't think they were used to what exactly Winthrop was giving them. I felt like I saw a lot coming through from that. But of course, the biggest thing is that I'm seeing a lot in your future as to what exactly and who exactly is going to be breaking this down. So I'm tossing it back to you, Dagon, Tanner, and Dryad.
All right, thank you very much, Future Teller Gompers there. I think we had a Future Teller on the desk go with a 3-1, right? It was a 3-1 Fisher College prediction here on the way. What do you, I don't remember what you called. Did you say 3-2 or 3-1?
I said 3-1 Winthrop, but I do have to apologize because after the round 1 Winthrop win, I was giving Dryad some slack, and Dryad said, you know what? Hey, that's just round 1. Like, calm down. There's a lot of game left,
This is
buddy.
round 1.
And there was a lot of game left. There was.
This is the top tier analysis that I expect from the analyst couch here. But Winthrop came out firing. This was something where I think they were saying on the cast, wow, almost maybe Fisher wasn't quite ready for how aggressive Winthrop was playing. And we get to see that in a couple of our replays here. Let's go straight to round 6. And the mind games that were happening post-plan here, Dryad.
And it was a lot of aggression happening for Fisher on this attacking side. But we get to see it on these post-plans where they're actively looking for space. They want to give none to the defensive side trying to take it. And it works so well for Clark. But then it does get a little bit more difficult because you see that aggressive position, you see those post-plans and how they play out. And we see the Winthrop adaptation on the half that ended up playing to their favor.
Yeah, I do want to add, too, like, in that, although it looked good, the aggression from Fisher, Winthrop looked a little dicey. You could see nerves were kind of still setting in. They're still settling in. The timings were off in a lot of these retake situations.
Yeah, well, in round 8 here, this is the one where the adaptations were made by Winthrop. How do we get back on in out of post-plan?
It does become a lot more difficult because you see this positioning from Rex. This is pretty much at this point, after he gets spotted, a one and done, if any, for that one. He couldn't get anything. And it was a similar position to what we saw from Clark before, right? So you start catching those patterns. You give no space for the post-plan to take place. And it was a lot of quicker reaction that we were seeing from Winthrop that were working on that defensive side, but then we swap sides, and that's a different story.
You know, yesterday, or a couple days ago in the league championships, Winthrop came close in a couple of matches, and you kind of wonder, losing 13-11, that's tough, right? You know, you'd rather lose, or 13-10, you'd rather lose maybe like one-sided and be like, okay, let's get this map out. This was Fisher's map pick. How much does it weigh on you knowing that, wow, this was Fisher's map, and we were in it, we were leading, and we broke the streak. We had the opportunity at 10-10 to possibly pull something back. We weren't quite able to.
This is definitely, I think, poetic. The last time that these two teams split against each other, it was for the grand finals of the East, and it ended up going all the way to overtime. A 15-13 that ended up going this side of Fisher, but it was the same way, right? It was a 4-8 that initially Winthrop had on the advantage, and then it just got lost.
And I think the biggest thing, now that map one is out of the way, very close game. I think that's, if you're looking, because, you know, I predicted Winthrop, and if you're looking for kind of a shining light there, this was a long game. You got a lot of rounds on that stage to start to feel comfortable, because even towards the end, the last couple of rounds, they're not checking their corners, right? That last round where Rex is getting that value underneath heaven looking up, stayed there the entire time, by the way, was just dancing around. Nobody looked to clear him out. You could see that Winthrop had other stuff on their mind. They weren't necessarily completely drilled into the game. So for them, a long game. It was Fisher's map pick, and there's still more series to go, but hopefully the nerves and it's kind of the land rust or whatever's been shaken off.
Well, at the beginning of the day, we said who would be standout players. One of them that we hit for Fisher was that main man, Clark, who came up huge here for Fisher College. There you see some of his stats. The ACS was just off the charts.
Yeah, it's cool to see Clark and the way that he was playing, where not every single round he's getting that opening kill, he's getting that space, and in a lot of cases it actually ended up being Logan even for that late round. But the way that this guy was playing just to make that space, it was so effective from the beginning when we got to see the attacking side, but on the defense as well, being a nuisance, giving nothing to work with on the other side, and it was happening constantly. The showstopper kills that we got to see, the paint shells, he was constantly putting damage and making that entry for the second half so much more difficult.
Yeah, and how fun that map one, much like maybe like map 3 once we get out towards Fracture, but this is a map where everything gets shaken up. The flexibility from everybody is really shown, where A77's playing the Sentinel. Cloric, who we talked about being the star support player, gets to be the sole duelist here and still put up the same numbers. Map 1 was a really fun map to kind of get everybody loosened up to the roles that they don't necessarily play. And now once we start to look ahead, we'll see things. We'll start to see that Logan duelist again. We'll start to see that Moves duelist again. But everybody played, I don't know, the magical chairs game of Split pretty well.
Yeah, let's see in our team breakdown. Again, we set up certain players being this type, initiator only or whatever. Not exactly the case here as we take a look at the overall scoreboard. Over at Winthrop, you did have Moves have a solid game. He was leading his squad, almost leading the lobby there in terms of frags, but just couldn't quite carry the team, and you kind of wonder maybe the flexibility bit Winthrop in the butt there.
And also, if you're on the side of Winthrop, you look at this map and you know this was so favored for the side of Fisher. It kind of sting a little bit, like you said, when it's so close, when you almost take it and then you lose in that second half in the last couple of rounds. But I still think that mentality here is going to be, now going back into those comfort roles that we've talked about and that we mentioned, but also going to a Haven that benefits Winthrop so much more.
Yeah, way better on map 2. Haven is a great map. It's a map where Winthrop have taken wins over Northwood. But I want to go back to that point that you were saying, Digon, where you're saying, Moobs is playing a role, still played it well, still fragged out. But this is a guy that you got to give him a long leash. That's usually what he does on the duelist. On Sky, this guy's pretty chained up. He is pretty strictly stuck to support. He's not jumping in like Flair, who played the Rays very well, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough.
All right. Haven coming up next. Winthrop has the map pick. Fisher defending, as you said, has found some success in previous series, but on this map. But based off of what you've seen here, and we'll go with the Winthrop guy first. What do you need to see out of them on Haven to get the win? Because the jitters are out of the way now. You've got the rounds out the way. You've had clutches. What's next?
So a couple of things that we talked about outside of moves was A77. And A77 be able to play off of his own util. And on the Cypher, you can do that, sure. Not the easiest thing, though, right? You set down a couple of trap wires. Hopefully, you're in a position to be able to play off of that. Somebody walks into it, inside a cage. You get yourself a free kill. Haven is a map where A77 is going back to that initiator role. Can not only set up his team, but can set up himself, right? We might see Odin spam coming out from the Sova player. We're going to see recon bolts for A77 to actually make plays on his own versus playing the Cypher, needing to stay anchored. A77 is going to have a lot more room to breathe on Haven, which is then going to allow. We talked about support, we talked about duelists, and A77 is going to be, I think, the key for Winthrop in map 2.
Fisher on defense first. What do you want to see out of them coming out of the gates?
Fisher on the defense is definitely going to be a risk here. And, when I said the 3-1, I feel like this is the map for sure that goes for the side of Winthrop. This is the map that they won against Northwood, right? So the expectations here are high. The defense setup, it has to be a little bit more reactive, even compared to what we saw on this first map of Split, where they're playing around it, they're getting that info, they're putting up and setting up those players to make sure that there's no space and that space gets denied all across those 3 sides. More than the early setups where they're playing back, something that Winthrop was doing in that map number 1 that cannot happen here.
3-1. You got your win early. You sticking with it?
Yeah.
3 in a row now needed here, Tanner. How you feeling?
We need 3 in a row. I think this is a good place to start. I think if we're looking ahead and we're 3-1 predictions, if we're looking ahead, Fracture's a very scrappy map, and I think 2 maps in, Winthrop are going to be in a pretty good spot to play the double duelist. Usually playing the double duelist moves on the Jet, Flare on the Rays. Roles kind of get swapped up a little bit, where we've got, I think Comey is now playing the Brimstone, A77 back on the Sentinel, but Fracture also a map where I'm saying I'm talking to the future a little bit.
We're going to Haven, man. Why are we talking to the future?
I can see the next 2 going the way of Winthrop. That's what I can see. After that, we got to see how the guys are feeling.
All right, we got to take a short break. But will the boys from Boston go up 2-0? We'll find out on the other side. See you in a little bit.
Oh, beautiful play, Logan. Just behind 3K there. Back of here. They're still going to fight this Flare. Nice right click down.
And they are scrambling in towards me. A big rolling thunder from Nasi.
Thumpkin actually getting a TP, trying to fake it. Takes the angle. Winthrop University holding out the stops is Fisher College. And it's Nasi left alone in a 2v2 situation. It's very, very unfortunate position here. Already the first one coming off on Flare, and it's still feeling confident. Gonna have to be up to Cloric here. Goes the duo here. First shot, nice, beautiful off of Nasi.